the 22mm socket, we'll go ahead and remove the lug nuts. And once the lugs are removed, we'll go ahead and remove the wheel. All right, now we want to go ahead and remove all of these plastic rivet style buttons all the way around the perimeter of the fender. And there'll be a few more of them inside the fender. There's one buried up inside here. And you want to go ahead and remove them also. We can go ahead and pull out this inner wheel well liner. By doing so, you could do the punch right in the middle. And you're going to punch out the center and go all the way around. Now, using a pry tool, we'll now go ahead and remove these little rivet buttons. Now I want to go ahead and remove our ABS button right here. So just going to reach up around the back side. Push with your thumb while you're prying that out, because you want to go ahead and reuse that. And that should loosen that. Go ahead and remove your wheel well liner. And set it aside. So we went ahead and applied some rust penetrant to the exhaust manifold studs right here and one on the back side. We have to remove this heat shield using a 10mm socket and ratchet. There's a nut right here, there's one right underneath right here, and then there's one on the front side right here. So let's go ahead and loosen those. On the forward mounted nut, we need to use a wrench on here because we can't get a ratchet or a socket in there. Using our 10mm shallow socket with a swivel and 3/8 extensions, I'm going to go ahead and try and loosen this lower bolt or nut. Using our 17mm socket and breaker bar, we're going to go ahead and loosen this manifold to pipe bolt. So we're going to use a 13mm socket and or wrench to get this bolt here. There's one diagonal right underneath, and then on the forward side there's one here and one here. We're going to try and use a 13mm ratchet wrench on this one here. I'm going to try and do the same for the lower bolt here. So we have our last 10 millimeter bolt here. We're lucky enough to break that free. Okay, grab the manifold, be able to wiggle the bolt out hopefully. Get the last bolt. Grab the manifold, separate it from the downpipe and pull the manifold out. Now if you plan on reusing the exhaust manifold that you pulled off and we're just going to be replacing the gasket and the studs, it'd be a good idea to go ahead and use a tap and die set. You want to go ahead and clean out the threads for the manifold here to make sure that your hardware goes in nice. Then you want to go ahead and remove the old gasket. Peel that right off. This here has a couple different gaskets here. I'll go ahead and set that aside. Now you want to go ahead and clean the exhaust manifold itself, and also want to clean the cylinder head where we're going to be bolting this back to. On the back side of the exhaust manifold where the downpipe attaches to, you also want to make sure that this is clean and rust free. That way you get a good contact seal. So what you want to do, we're using a block of wood and we wrap it in some light graded or light sandpaper. And we're going to go ahead and just kind of clean the block. This is aluminum, so you don't want to use grinders or anything like that on here, but you want to go ahead and clean these up. Make sure the gasket is clear. And then we have a good mating surface. So we've already gone through all this here. So we're just going to go ahead and get that bolt in, a few more threads. I'm not going to tighten it. I just want to make sure that that's in there secure. I'm going to go ahead and get one of the rear studs installed. I'm going to be working that gasket, get that into place. I'm going to go ahead and get this rear stud started in here. Not going to snug it. We have plenty of room there. So we can go ahead and move that manifold around a little bit if we need to. Let's go ahead and get these two center 10 millimeter studs started. And then move on to the bottom. Gonna get one of the lower bolts on the far lower left started with the stud in it. And we get all the bolts in. We're gonna go ahead and snug these down. And then we'll come back and torque them all. Now in our torquing sequence, first of all, we want to torque all of the bolts to 18 foot-pounds. There is a specific pattern for this because of the cast manifold and the aluminum head. It goes like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're covering the first 4 in the middle, and then we work our way outward to the outer perimeter. So let's go ahead and get started. Now what I want to do is make sure that you have your flange lined up on the back side here. I'm going to go ahead and start installing the back bolt first. You can see it from underneath. You can feel it from the fender well area here. So you can feed the bolt through. You can get it started by hand. And thread that in a little bit. I'll go on the forward side here and get that one started. I'm going to go ahead and torque the flange bolts to 24 foot-pounds. And repeat for the inside. I'm going to go ahead and install our heat shield. Using our 10 millimeter, we're just going to go ahead and snug these nuts down. They don't have to be too tight because they're just holding the heat shield in place. We'll go ahead and install our fender liner here. You want to tuck them in as we go around. I'm going to go ahead and start by installing our push pins to retain the fender liner in place. Don't forget to install your ABS sensor, pushing that clip right through like so. You can go ahead and install your wheel. Get a lug nut started by hand. Then we'll go ahead and snug these down. We're now going to go ahead and torque the wheels to 135 foot-pounds.